following contains spoilers for The Last Jedi. You have been warned. Hello everyone, and welcome to Zeonremnants channel. And today we'll be looking at the top 10 good things of Star Wars The Last Jedi. I know this movie has divided a great amount of our fan base to the dark and the light. You either love the movie or you seemingly hate it. I'm here to present both sides, the top 10 good and top 10 bad things of the movie. I personally was torn by it, but I did manage to find some redeeming qualities in the movie. I must admit it was a little bit hard, but I did come up with a top 10 and we're going to get on to it. I'm going to try and be as positive as possible in this video because I am here to talk about the good things about The Last Jedi. If you want to see my negative reactions and yelling and lightsaber bashing, check out the top 10 bad things of Star Wars The Last Jedi. Let's get to it. Number 10. Number 10. In my opinion, one of the best opening sequences in any Star Wars movie. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I really enjoyed this. The Resistance is fleeing, and the First Order is coming to get revenge on them blowing up Starkiller Base. The First Order is like, motherfucker, you ain't gonna blow up my shit and run away like that. That's right. So we have Poe in his new souped-up X-Wing coming in, and he's distracting General Hux by making a complete fool out of him, which it seems that's General Hux's role in this movie. And I'm okay with that. General Hux was never an imposing villain to begin with, so the fact that he's made a moron of in this movie actually makes sense. I really enjoyed this part. Poe bides his time, allowing his rockets to fuel up before he goes extremely fast, cutting the distance between him and the First Order Dreadnought, skimming the surface of the Dreadnought and making it very difficult for the gunners to get a clean shot at him. He's taking out all of the turbo lasers in preparation for the bombers to come in and blow up the Dreadnought so the Resistance can escape. And what follows is a great little dogfight with TIE fighters, X-Wings, A-Wings, bombers, Star Destroyers, all kind of stuff going on. I really enjoyed it. It's a beautiful fight sequence. And we even have this interesting tension with these bombers and how they work as far as dropping the bombs. And we have Rose's sister. She sacrifices herself to destroy the Dreadnought, and the Dreadnought blows up in amazing fashion, taking the general with it, who actually, I liked that general. I thought he was pretty cool. Sad to see him go, but this was a really good opening sequence, and it got me really excited for the movie. Number 9. Moving on to our next point. I mentioned in number 10 how beautiful the space battle was, and that's a positive for this movie. This movie is beautifully shot. Just the visuals and the really good wide shots of the battles going on. Mwah! Magnifico! Loved it. It's probably the best looking Star Wars movie ever. There's a lot of really good thematic things going on in the background. There's destruction is beautifully shown, like in the fight with Phasma and Finn. You see the whole First Order hangar being destroyed, and there's explosions going off in the background, and nice, good, wide shots of the action, so you can clearly see all the moves that are happening. The battle on Crait is beautifully shot. The fight scene in the throne room looked amazing. You could see everything that was happening, and the choreography was just wonderful. The locations are beautiful. Crait is one of the most interesting battle sequences I've ever seen. This dynamic of this white sand and these red explosions popping up everywhere. I really enjoyed it, and it's definitely one of the most eye-pleasing Star Wars movies we've ever seen. In short, what I'm trying to say about this movie visually is that it was glorious. Number 8. Speaking of which, let's talk about the Battle of Crait. The ending battle in this movie, and one of my favorite battles in Star Wars now. A lot of the battles in this movie were really good, and it's a shame that the story kind of dragged them down a little bit. I loved this battle. It was great. You got TIE fighters chasing the Millennium Falcon in a callback to Return of the Jedi and the Death Star 2 shaft sequence. Even the same music accompanies this. You have these skimmers going through the sand and kicking up all this red dust while the ATM-6s are trying to blast away at the Resistance. We have TIE fighters coming in and making these... I love these red clouds that come up every time an explosion happens. Just a really fun sequence. And also, I really enjoyed Poe's moment in this battle, at the very beginning of the movie, Poe has a really hard time with authority, and he feels like just blowing things up is the answer to all his problems. And finally, throughout the movie and at the end, he realizes to be a good leader, he needs to look at the bigger picture. And he finally does that in this scene. And he orders everyone to retreat. Now, as we know, that not everyone retreats, but it was a direct callback to the very first battle in the movie where Leia told him to retreat and he ignored her. I really enjoyed this fight. Even seeing the First Order blow up the door and advance forward was really something to see. It's one of my favorite Star Wars battles now. Good job. 7. Alright, now let's get into, unanimously, it seems to be every Star Wars fan's favorite scene in this movie, the throne room scene, where Kylo and Rey have to team up to fight the Praetorian Guards. And just the choreography in this scene is one of my favorites of all the Star Wars movies. You have Kylo Ren fighting off 4 Praetorian Guards at once. He steals one of their spears and he starts dual-wielding with his crossguard lightsaber and a spear. We see him mercifully killing these guards. Rey is trying to fend off 2 guards at once. She fights the guard with the whip. In a very close encounter type fight, she defeats him. And then when she swings her lightsaber, the guard's whip flies into the wall of the throne room, causing it to go on fire. Now, I don't know how that works, but it was a really good visual shot. The room starts filling with fire. Everything is starting to crumble on top of our heroes and the fight that they're having. Rey has a really good moment where she fights the guard with the 2 swords, and the guard is kicking her ass. And it looks like he's going to decapitate Rey with the sword. Rey remembers earlier on the island when she turned the lightsaber the other way into a different fighting stance. She drops the lightsaber and grabs it, cuts him in the legs, and cuts him in the neck. Awesome. Kylo Ren fights off the other 3 guards, dispatching all of them except for 1. Kylo Ren is backed up, he drops his lightsaber, and the other guard has him in a chokehold. Too bad it wasn't a crossface chicken wing! But still, an effective chokehold nonetheless. And then the very last sequence, Rey throws Anakin's lightsaber through the air. Kylo Ren catches it, activates it in 1 second, putting a hole right through the Praetorian Guard's helmet. What an amazing sequence, and how awesome was it to see Kylo Ren, my bae and my spirit animal, and Rey team together to fight off the odds. Love this scene. 6. Alright guys, so we've talked a lot about the battles in Star Wars The Last Jedi. Let's get talking to some of the good characters in this movie. Let's go ahead and let's get the major contestant out of the way. While on my bad list, I did have him as a bad part of the movie. He's also a good part of the movie, and I'm talking about our old farm boy, Luke Skywalker. In this movie, he's a completely different character than how we've seen him previously. And I liked most of it. There were some things I obviously didn't like. If you want to know about them, watch the 10 bad things. But the good things about Luke Skywalker is that a lot has happened to him. You got to understand, a lot of people were complaining that this is not the Luke that we remember. No, it's not. This is a much older Luke. This is 30 years or so after Return of the Jedi. He's much older. He's much wiser. He made a mistake. He feels deeply responsible for causing Kylo Ren's turn. And in his mind, he realizes what he's done. He's effectively made another Darth Vader that could cause a lot of pain and suffering in the universe. Not only that, but this was his sister's son. This is his nephew. She trusted him with her son, and he failed. I love the sequences that we show, these flashbacks, where the different versions of the fight that Luke and Kylo had at the Jedi Temple. And some people are saying, it's very out of character for Luke to ignite his lightsaber in a fit of rage. And I say, I don't really know about that. We've seen Luke tap into the dark side before. In his fight with Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi, he did just that. He's human, and he had a one moment of weakness. He saw the future of Kylo Ren, and once again, he just wanted to protect those that he cared about. And in one instant of raw emotion, he ignited his lightsaber thinking he could stop all of it. And as soon as he ignited it, he realized how wrong he was, and he was filled with shame, as he said. And he feels directly responsible for all his students dying and his temple being burned to the ground. I don't blame him for going into exile. He feels like a failure. And more so, he realizes that it's his legend, and the legend of the Jedi, that's been misconstrued in his opinion to think that they're these all-powerful, perfect beings, and they're not. they've actually caused a lot of what's wrong in the galaxy, as he explains to Rey in the movie. I really enjoyed his character arc in this movie, even though a lot of people didn't. There are some things I disagree with, but overall I enjoyed it. I also like the idea that Luke has cut himself off from the Force. We've only seen things like that in Knights of the Old Republic, but it was a really interesting concept to see here. And Moth is going to die. I just realized I still have this sticker on here. Number 5. Alright, moving on to the next good character from this movie. Let's talk about Supreme Leader Snoke with his pimp walk. Actually, and again, this is a dual thing because I did have him also in my top 10 bad things about The Last Jedi, but he's also a good part of this movie. I love all of his scenes. I love how powerful they made him to be. He uses the Force on General Hux from who knows how far away in the beginning of the movie. He throws Rey around like a rag doll. He shoots a Force shock of lightning and hurts my beautiful bae, Kylo Ren. And also, just the acting of Andy Serkis, the conversation that he has with Kylo and Rey, and everything. I just really enjoyed this character. Now, I'm really disappointed that he died, but guys, you know what? You gotta kind of think of it like this. This character was so powerful that the only way for Kylo Ren to successfully kill him was to essentially pull a trick on him. There was no way that Kylo was going to fight Snoke one-on-one and kill him. So the fact that he had to use this underhanded method to kill him speaks volumes of the strength and power of this character. He was so sure of himself that Kylo Ren was going to kill his true enemy, and he thought that was Rey, but it wasn't. And as we've seen in Star Wars before, destinies and futures are never exactly what we think that they are. There's always something that's missing, something hazy that you can't see. So the fact that Snoke didn't see that Kylo's real intention was to kill him and not Rey, you know what? That makes sense. That's happened quite a bit in Star Wars, Legends, and all kind of things, where prophecies and insight into someone's mind is never always 100% correct. So I'm okay with his death in that aspect. I think it should have happened in Episode 9, but I still enjoyed his character in this, and I really liked it. The physicality of his character, you can tell how disfigured he is, the way he walks. I know I made fun of it earlier, but that actually creeped me out quite a bit when he's walking up to Kylo really slowly like this. I was like, oh shit. He's like the Walking Dead. So I really enjoyed his character, short-lived as it may be, and hopefully we'll get to see more of him in some other type of media, maybe a book or video game, comic, I don't know, but I want to see more of this guy, and I want to learn more about him. I am intrigued in this character, and I want to learn more. Number 4. Alright, let's go on and let's talk about our main heroine, Rey. Rey in this movie, once again, is one of my favorite parts of the movie. I really enjoyed her in Force Awakens, even though some people didn't seem to like her. I feel like in this movie, they've toned down her powers a little bit in comparison to the last movie. But again, I would like to point out that in Force Awakens, she says it twice, that she has no idea how she's doing these things. So it's not like she's just all-powerful just because there's a reason behind it. And in this movie, we kind of find out what happened. So Kylo Ren has become so strong in the dark side that Snoke believed that Luke was going to rise up to meet him as his light equal. But Luke cut himself off from the Force. Now, it's possible that this indirectly caused the Force to shift and put the powers of the light into someone else, and that person was Rey. And now Rey is the light rising to meet the darkness that is Kylo Ren. And in this movie, we see how afraid she is of her own powers. I really enjoyed that conversation she had with Luke. She is scared of what is happening inside of her, and she doesn't understand what it is. She also had some really good moments with Luke Skywalker. I personally liked the moment where he tells her to reach out. He goes, "Can you feel the Force?" And he smacks her hand. This is Luke Skywalker the teacher, not Luke Skywalker the hero. So I could definitely see him doing something like that to one of his students. I've always enjoyed the facial expressions that Daisy really has in the character of Rey, as far as her her fear and her sadness and the trauma in her face. She's very good at that. And I always really believed that her character was going through so much in her mind as to what Kylo is telling her, what Luke is telling her, how is she feeling inside, the turmoil within her. It's really interesting, and I always enjoyed her character. And in my opinion, in this movie, she doesn't really do much in the way of being a Mary Sue like everyone said she was in Force Awakens. I mean, she fights Luke. Luke technically beats her. He disarms her, and the only reason why he backs down is because she grabs his lightsaber, and he doesn't have a weapon. And also, Luke doesn't want to hurt her. He doesn't want to attack her. Luke is about defense, normally. That is the real Jedi way, and Luke even still abides by that rule. Rey and Kylo's interactions are great. We're going to get more to that in another point of this video. And even in the battle with the Praetorian Guards, Rey barely holds her own against 2 of them. Kylo kills the other 4. I just really enjoy her character. I know some people don't like her. I know people are disappointed that we didn't find out her parents were someone special. But I kind of like her being this nobody, this person that was sold off for drinking money. And maybe Kylo is lying, and maybe her parents are still someone important. But right now, it seems to be that Rey is just this Dorothy-esque person that's been swept up in all this against her will. Obviously, it's very similar to Luke Skywalker. So I really enjoyed all of Rey's parts in this. They were some of my favorite parts of the movie. And I look forward to seeing how her character arc ends in Episode 9. Hey guys, while I was editing this, I remembered something, a point I wanted to make that I completely forgot about. I did this also in the other video. I tend to forget things, apparently. But there's a scene in this movie, and this ties in with the Mary Sue aspect of Rey's character, where Yoda says she has everything in the temple that she needs. A lot of people don't realize that that was a literal statement that he made. He didn't mean that she knew everything. In the movie, she actually steals all the books from the temple. You see them twice. When she gets in the Millennium Falcon, she puts them away in the drawer. At the very end of the movie, when Finn opens the drawer to get a rag for Rose, the books are there, in the drawer. So she literally has everything that she needed from the temple because she took the books with her. It's not that she's all-powerful, all-knowing. She stole the books, and she has them now, so she has everything in there that they needed. Number 3. And next on my list is the Force bond that developed between Kylo Ren and Rey. These scenes are some of my favorite in the movie. It was a really good way of showing the turmoil in Kylo Ren as far as Luke is concerned, and how Rey feels about all this, and not knowing who her parents are, and Kylo Ren basically telling her that her parents threw her away and she needs to stop trying to find a father figure and just be who she was meant to be. I love all these scenes. It's a very good throwback to Knights of the Old Republic 2, where Kreia and the main character have this Force connection, and if one of them hurts, the other one hurts, and they can kind of see through each other's eyes type thing. It's a very similar type of relationship. And of course, as we know, Supreme Leader Snoke is the one that caused this, but it was still a very interesting dynamic. I also really enjoyed the scene at the very end of the movie where Kylo Ren and Rey see each other again. They still have this lingering Force connection, even though Snoke is dead. Or is he? And Rey effectively shuts him out. She closes the Falcon door, and that's to signify that she is severing her connection with Kylo Ren, and now Ren really is all alone. These scenes were just very well thought out, very good at explaining certain things about each character, and I enjoyed seeing them together. Even the little elevator scene that they had while they were going up, I really enjoyed it. I love their chemistry on screen. It's amazing. And I can see why people want Reylo to happen. I don't blame them. Number 2. Alright, my next good point of this movie is going to be the Kylo Ren versus Luke fight, and also the scene before it with Luke and Leia. Wow, there's a lot of forced drama, I feel like, it didn't tug at my little heartstrings and my small heart as it is. But I couldn't help but get kind of emotional when I saw Luke and Leia interact. They have this real, genuine connection and conversation. And I love Luke giving Leia the dice from the Millennium Falcon. And it was a really good kind of send-off for Han Solo. A lot of people were really upset about the treatment of Han Solo's death in Force Awakens. And to me, This scene right here was a really good closure. I really like it. It gets me every time I see it. And moving on to the scene after that, Luke versus Kylo Ren was awesome. I know it wasn't a back and forth super big duel like we wanted to see. It was very samurai-esque and even a little bit of anime-esque, with Kylo getting his lightsaber and going right through Luke Skywalker and then sliding at the very end. I enjoyed the movements in this fight. It was a very samurai-esque fight. Luke dodging the lightsaber, him doing an interesting spinning move, and it was just beautifully shot. You have these great wide shots of the fight where you can see the background, and it's very interesting how they shot this. In the back of Kylo Ren, you can see all the ATM-6s and this destruction behind him. And when you see Luke, you see white, serenity, you see the sand, you see the rebel base. It's a very good, visually interesting scene, and also it represents those two characters as they're having this monumental fight. I also really enjoyed this small little cue, if you guys noticed it. When Luke is walking out past all the resistance soldiers, you can see their face. They're seeing a living legend walk past them. And he's literally going out to face the First Order with his laser sword. And he did say that earlier in the movie. He said that's something he wasn't going to do, but he ended up doing it anyway. So these scenes really work for me, and I really enjoyed them.
Number 1.
And let's get on to my number 1 good thing about Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Kylo Ren! Were you guys surprised? Did you not think I was going to say Kylo Ren? Because he's like the most interesting character in this series. And Adam Driver is just awesome. Yeah, I like Kylo Ren. But seriously, guys, Kylo Ren is one of my favorite parts, not just in this movie, but the last movie. I'm kind of glad that they got the helmet off of him. While I like the design of the helmet, his character and the actor didn't really need it. The helmet originally is explained that he is hiding his face from the rest of the galaxy so they don't know who he is, that he is Han and Leia's son. But now at this point it doesn't matter. I like his interaction with Snoke, and Snoke telling him to take that ridiculous thing off of him. He's a boy in a mask, and Kylo realizes he doesn't need to try and be like Darth Vader. He needs to be who he was meant to be. Let the past die. Kill it if you have to. A great line in this movie, and it's very apropos for the character of Kylo Ren. He is trying to erase everything in his past and move forward in a direction that he wants to go in. He also does something Darth Vader never did or never could do, and he killed his master. He is now the supreme leader of the First Order. And that was a really surprising move for me. I didn't think that would happen, but it did, and I really enjoyed it. I love the acting in all of Kylo Ren's scenes. He's such an emotional actor, which brings me back to the point, I'm glad they removed the mask from him, because he's so much better at conveying his emotions without the helmet, obviously, and he's very good at it too, very convincing. I also like his fights in the movie. He's a very impressive fighter. I know that a lot of people say that in Force Awakens he wasn't that impressive because he lost to Rey. There were pre-existing conditions to that fight as to why he was a bit weaker when he fought Rey. But in this movie, he's healed up, he's focused, he takes on all the Praetorian Guards almost at once. When he fights Luke, it's with this ferocity and passion and dark side energy, and I love every second of this man on my screen. He's the best part of the movie. And I know people go ahead and say, well, Kylo Ren's a little emo, he has black hair and wears black. Let me tell you something, kids. Let me learn you something about the universe. All the Skywalkers are emo! All of them. Anakin, Luke, Kylo, they're all emo, okay? Anakin spends the whole movie, Revenge of the Sith, crying, no one respects me, I'm not a master, I'm not a knight, I'm not a this, I'm not a that. My wife's gonna die, what do I do? Go kill all the kids. Okay, kills all the kids. Everyone said how whiny and emo he was. Okay, that's Anakin. Let's look at Luke now. What does Luke do in Empire Strikes Back when he finds out Darth Vader is his father? He screams, no! And then what does he do? He tries to commit suicide! He did! There was no way in hell that he knew that he would drop down this chasm and live. Not a chance. He was trying to run away from his problems and effectively kill himself. And of course that didn't happen, but that's how it went down. So, to my point, all the Skywalkers are emo. Get over it. You're just saying that because he has black hair and he wears black. Let's move on, please. But I really like his character. He's very interesting. I also really liked, I know some people didn't like this scene where Rey and him are talking and he has his shirt off. Big deal, okay? So what? He has a shirt off. But what I did like about that scene and his shirt is you can see all the damage that he sustained from the last movie. You can see that his scar runs all the way down his chest. You can see the marks where Rey punched him with the lightsaber in his shoulder. You can just see what he went through in the last movie and how it's progressed his character arc forward. And I also enjoyed the scene where Kylo is trying to get Rey to join him. Originally, when I saw the trailer, I thought this was a fake out. I thought these two scenes were separate, but in the movie it's not. He is asking Rey to join him. And the conversation that they have, and Kylo Ren telling her, "You're nothing, you come from nothing, but you're not nothing to me." And it was really interesting to think about that, and why Kylo Ren says that. Now, of course, he could be just saying that just to try and get her to join him, but I feel like he really sees her as someone valuable, someone powerful, someone that he can relate to. They both have had this trauma in their life, and while Kylo's is more Kylo's fault, admittedly, they have this connection, and I like it. It's different, and I enjoyed it. And that was my top 10 good things about Star Wars The Last Jedi. It took me a while to get 10 things together, but I'm actually pretty satisfied with the 10 things that I mentioned in this video. They are really what I like about this movie. If you want to see the top 10 bad things about the movie, check out that video that will be at the end of this video. And ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think in the comments below. Was there anything that you liked in this movie that I didn't mention? Let us know. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Comment down below, and please, ladies and gentlemen, let's be adults about this. I know this movie has divided the fandom, but don't resort to name-calling and things like that. It's okay to have a discussion about your disagreements with the movie. I myself generally was disappointed when it came out, but the more I've watched it, the more I like it. I don't want to hate Star Wars. I love Star Wars. We are currently in my Star Wars room in my house, and at some point, you guys will see a video of that. I'm also working on Star Wars custom figures, like always, and a large diorama project that revolves around the Black Series TIE Fighter. So guys, check out those videos as well. Subscribe if you want to see more content. As always, may the Force be with you, and most importantly of all, Zeonremnants!